really excited for today's video. I ordered a bunch of samples from Olfactive Studio. I haven't tried their stuff before, so it's gonna be my first impressions video. I thought it's very interesting that photography plays such a big role in the brand's concept. You know, usually photography serves the fragrance as a marketing tool, but in case of Olfactive Studio, we see a photographer as an equal participant of creative process. The fragrances are the result of collaboration between perfumer and photographer, this poetic relationship between images and scents. Each olfactive creation is accompanied with a certain photograph to tell a story. It seemed to me that those perfumes are not meant to be crowd-pleasing, grab-and-go scents, but I wanted to see how much they can impress me, what senses, memories they can evoke, and maybe find some wearable fragrances, maybe fall in love even, who knows. I recorded my very first emotions from my first sniff of those fragrances. I thought it's kind of fun to see how my opinion changed after a week or so, and also I'm rating those olfactive compositions. In this video I'm gonna focus on Sepia line, and the other video on my channel will cover all the rest of Olfactive Studio perfumes. Vanilla shot, Chypre shot, leather shot. Like a photographic shot captures one perfect moment, those fragrances attempt to capture and highlight one raw material or an accord. First Trilogy is a work of perfumer Bertrand Duchaufour, photographer Martin Hill, and the creator, the soul of the brand, Céline Verleur. I made myself some circular blotting paper to capture all the drops of the perfume and to protect my table as well. Let's see if they work. Let's begin with Vanilla shot, and my first impressions were balsamic feel in it, boozy, a bit alcoholic, touch of whiskey in it. It makes me feel like I'm getting drunk. Doesn't smell like a dessert. It's quite moist fragrance. Find it relaxing. It's such an unusual vanilla. It's a boozy drunk vanilla, definitely sweet but not too gourmand, rather different from any other vanillas on the market. Coriander, saffron and aldehydes in the opening sound scary but performs really beautifully. How many of us actually like aldehydes? I find this note very challenging, but here as a part of composition it's so balanced. A Popanax benzoin and myrrh, a bunch of resinous note that I find delicious in here. Also vanilla, caramel and dry fruits. It sounds sweeter than it is actually. This perfume is absolutely wearable, I think. I see it as a herbal vanillic syrup with some alcohol fume. Believe me, it sounds suspicious, but it is actually beautiful, gorgeous fragrance. Not sure if it's worth a full-size bottle for me. It's not an everyday scent, it really needs an occasion. I give it a 7 on 10. My rating is very subjective, I'm not an expert. I will rate them according to how much those fragrances appeal to me personally. Vanilla shot is the one I would wear and enjoy, but it's not my favorite type of vanilla. I'm more into sweet, gourmands, easygoing variations, so I give 7 on 10 for Vanilla shot. The visual part of this vanilla story is captured in a land art by Martin Hill. It's an arch made of wood pieces that evokes a shape of vanilla beans, as author describes it. Next comes the Chypre shot and my first impressions. A beautiful, spicy, mysterious, deep smell. Reminds me the smell of the Lush shop, you know, the Lush cosmetic brand. Strong smell of this natural ingredients. Very smooth, very blended Chypre. It's unisex. I can imagine this for autumn, winter. It's such a comforting, such a warm, beautiful scent. The sweet, mossy scent, deep, rich fragrance. Very natural smelling. I didn't know that oak moss can be such a beautiful... Yeah, I really like it. I'm quite impressed. It feels very waxy for me, like an ointment, but I still like it. It reminds me of the spa candles. It's quite herbal and mossy, and as I said, it's really mysterious. I see warm and spicy notes of cardamom, saffron and coffee, contrasting with the soft and fuzzy, like blanket, notes of oak moss and patchouli and fresh bergamot. It's not pungent, sharp patchouli and oak moss, like some Chypre fragrances often feature. No, it's much softer, and dry down is very comfortable, sweet and balsamic. I like this fragrance in general, and I can recommend to try it if you like deep, enigmatic scents. It's definitely gender neutral. I give this fragrance 7 out of 10. I appreciate its beauty, but I wouldn't wear it often. I think I should revisit this perfume in autumn. I will keep it in mind. But for now it's 7 on 10. Green landscape and foggy mountains. I think it's quite accurate interpretation of the scent. Do you see these enigmatic circles of rocks imprinted in this mossy blanket? It's so interesting how photographs from this fragrance trio features a circle. The circle is an O in the name of the brand. The circle is the shape of the lens, right? Even the dust bag is full of circles. Look, again a circle. Leather Shot is inspired by a pristine picture of the dark brown sand whose grain evokes leather. So here are my first emotions on Leather Shot. I'm a little bit scared about that one because I don't like leather in fragrances. Wow, what a fresh fragrance. Yes, it's truly leather fragrance. Quite fresh though. It's like leather under the rain. It has a wet feeling in it, with some woody touches. I can't imagine myself wearing such a fragrance. I cannot call it masculine. For me it's also gender neutral. It's just a leathery, olfactive artwork. I will be quick with this one. I really don't like straightforward leather fragrances. However, it is convincing, fresh, clean leather. The top notes are cardamom, cumin and orange. The heart notes leather iris and black tea. And the base is fully woody, including sandal and vetiver. In my personal rating of wearability, leather fragrances are very low, so this one gets 4 out of 10. I think it's a successful leather perfume, but I still have a long way to go with leather fragrances. The second trio from Sepia collection are the mono fragrances Rose, Iris and Violet Shots. Those are created by Dominique Ropion and portrayed by the Swiss photographer Roberto Greco. Let's start with the Rose Shot and my first emotions about it. Wow. Aquatic rose. Truly realistic rose. Very fresh morning rose. Exactly how it captured in this shot. Very fresh. Most favorite category of roses, truly gender neutral. One of the best rose fragrances I've tried so far. I was looking for such beautiful fresh rose. Unbelievably realistic. Shortly, it's the best rose I tried so far. It's incredible. Rose fragrances can go so many different ways. It can be a fresh rose, a jammy rose, spicy masculine rose. This rose is a freshly cut, lush and young and very rich with scent and a bit oily. Not aquatic though, definitely not aquatic. It's the highest selection of roses perfumer would pick. Or I can say it's a rose you would carefully choose among thousands of roses to bring to someone special for you. It's like the best rose in a flower shop. All the notes listed, bergamot, pepper, woods, they all come together to create a rose. None of the notes fall out of composition or overpower the rose accord. What I value the most in this perfume is that it stays floral and rosy until the end. It doesn't dry down ambery or woody, heavy or mature. It stays as a natural rose. It stays clean. Rose Shot has a beautiful, elegant sillage and lasts very long. It's so close to my dream rose, but not quite there. I'm still looking for a slightly fresher, like young morning rose with the dew drops on its petals. I will give Rose Shot 9.5 out of 10. I still want to search for my perfect 10 on 10 rose. This is my favorite fragrance from Sepia collection and I'm seriously thinking to get a full-size bottle of it. It's a masterpiece. Next is the Iris Shot and my very first emotions. Very strong almond touch in it, earthy, moist, very cold fragrance. I feel the leathery accord in it. It's more earthy than floral. More like a fragrance of solitude. It has its individuality. I'm gonna try and wear this one. It caught my interest. And again, very natural smelling. It's charming. The first minute, Iris Shot opens for me with the cool leathery accord, even though it's not listed here. And as I mentioned, I don't really enjoy leathery scents, but here it's just right. And then comes iris aldehydes in the right proportion. Everything in this fragrance is so correct, so precise, like it's measured with the ruler. It's very well arranged and blended composition, and again I can only admire how skillfully it is done. It's not too powdery or soapy, it's just slightly earthy, a rather cool fragrance. It puts me in a certain secure and confident mood. Among the notes are cardamom, almond and carrot. Those two become distinct in about an hour. In the base we have vetiver, cedar and ambroxan. The dry down is powdery but with beautiful woody tones. I have it on my skin today. Iris scents are often considered to be melancholic, but this one is not like that. This iris is confident. It speaks in a quiet, soft voice, almost whispers, and it knows how to make you listen with attention. When it dries down, I can't stop sniffing my arm. Before I tried this perfume, irises were not my favorite profile. Never enjoyed a solo iris fragrance, but this one made me change my mind, and I want to try to wear it because this iris feels comfortable on the skin when it dries down, and it's important for me. Iris Shot receives 8 out of 10 from me personally, because the opening is rather cold and leathery, but then it turns into something wonderful. Not sure if it's full bottle worthy for me, but I will see how quickly I will empty this sample. And the last one is Violet Shot and my first impression. Violet Shot, the one I was anticipating the most. Let's see. Oh, so velvety, so fragile, a very fresh floral violet fragrance. It's a violet leaf, not a violet flower, warmed up with those beautiful base notes. It's very sophisticated, very elegant fragrance. This velvety texture of the violet leaf feels very dense. It's not watery. It's strong but delicate. I'm very impressed. Leathery notes are mentioned here, but I don't feel any. Freshly cut, velvety violet leaf. I'm impressed. I left this one for last because of one interesting moment in Violet's behavior. The scent of the violet can temporarily change our perception of smells, so I needed to test everything else before I get my hands on a violet. I stick to my first impression. It's a wow, fresh, velvety violet leaf. Smelling it, I can imagine this fuzzy texture of the leaf. You know, violet leaves, they don't like water to be put directly on them. They don't like to be touched at all. My father was growing violets and they are really capricious, delicate flowers. And so is this fragrance. It doesn't feel watery despite its freshness, and it makes me think how skillfully it's done, being so dense and fresh at the same time. Spending some time properly with this fragrance, I started to feel different accords that make the composition. The juicy mandarin, pepper and the cut grass accord. Also we have saffroline and violet leaf absolute, patchouli, labdanum and vanilla as a base. After a few hours on my skin, it melts into a sweet and powdery veil, very enjoyable. However, the dry down, this last chapter of Violet's story, is not what I was expecting to see. At the latest stage, I mostly feel this resinous, quite uncomfortable scent, a bit suffocating even, and I guess it's labdanum that's being so challenging for me. And this is why Violet Shot for me is 7.5 out of 10. Even though the opening struck me with this realistic velvety leaves, this wow opening, the dry down is not so appealing to me. All the floral shots in Sepia line I can describe as realistic, velvety and balanced. I like the idea of this single dominating accord. Each fragrance has its personality, the way photographers picture them, like they have faces, bodies, gestures. I'm truly impressed by the Sepia collection from Olfactive Studio. Useful information: if you order a discovery kit, you will receive a voucher that you can use for your next purchase, so maybe I will actually order one of those florals, because they are so stunning, and I'm really glad I found those fragrances.